Hello, my name is Death, and before we start I just want to make a very quick disclaimer that I am indeed a speedrunner first, content creator second. So if you've seen other speedrun explainer videos from such wonderful content creators like Tomato Anus or Bismuth, unfortunately we're not quite aiming that high today. I simply made this video because I don't think anyone else is going to cover this game, but if you are interested in actual high quality speedrun explainer videos, check out those channels. I highly recommend them. I'll link them in the description. The way this video is going to work is that I do not assume you know anything about this game. I'll be simplifying as much as I can while trying to point out all the relevant strategies and interesting bits of the run. The run has changed a lot in the past 4 years, so the last thing I want to do is to really confuse you. Game starts wonderfully, and by that I mean we can skip the introduction cutscenes and head straight into the character selection. For the purposes of this video, we'll be choosing Emily, and I think she's considered the more interesting one, even though both of the characters do truly have their merits. The gameplay and the actual run starts when we're shoved into this room, well knowing that everyone is just dead, the day is ruined, and to top it off we have to make it through 2 horrible reset-filled windows before we can progress any further. This brings us to Alexei, well, for a brief moment before she passes on to greener pastures, and we're off to revenge this, well, all of this, by shoving our blade into Ramsey's kidney. First trick of the game, and a very highly used one, is an animation cancel that we simply achieve by aggroing this middle guard so he hits us while we are in the middle of looting Ramsey. We receive our magical circle of forged string, and he did indeed make this lock, which brings us to our next animation cancel trick. It's a bit different, and you can see that we do not luckily need to always rely on guards to hit us. We can use the power of alcohol to damage ourselves like we would be back in college. Instead of blacking out though, we head to the outdoors area, where we're greeted with the most iconic and arguably the most important trick of the game, leaps. By performing an animation cancel by pulling out our weapon or an ability while spamming jump inputs via a mouse wheel or a macro, the game grants us the ability to fly. Unfortunately, gravity does still exist, so in this specific case we'll have to grab a ledge in order to survive. At the ship, we're greeted by Megan, who for some reason wants to help us. We're being framed of something horrible. Again, if you're familiar with the story of Dishonored 1, the writers at Arcane truly love this trope, but I digress. We accept her help and head to sleep, only to be awoken in a weird area. The Outsider is a chaotic character that loves to grant his boon just so you can cause chaos. He's the chaotic evil, you could say, and I guess if you're an immortal being, just kind of sitting there might get a bit boring at times. I understand. He does grant us the ability to far reach, to grab onto a ledge and fling us there. This ability luckily has many uses, including mobility and clipping through objects, but we'll get to that a bit later. We can use this far reach ability in a non-intended way, however, by inputting an interact, or in this case an F button press slightly after releasing far reach. We're granted a great speed boost, and this is truly a crucial technique that we'll be using throughout the run. Heading to the end of this section, we'll be looting runes that are used to upgrade abilities. Don't get too keen on these, however, we'll only be picking up 2 after the initial duo of runes that we receive. Turns out, in order to go fast, menus are the real devil. Well, actually, in this case, it's more about most of the abilities not really giving us much of anything. We only want agility and agility 2 for Emily, which both grant us double jump and movement speed, respectively. This ship section works as an intermission for almost all levels. We'll wake up in this familiar place, talk to some people, and leave with Megan, or later with someone else, to do our dirty deeds as fast as we humanly can. Most of these ship sections do indeed work the same way, but few of them have some pretty interesting tricks we can perform to save just a bit of time. Just like the intro, we can actually skip cutscenes. In this case, the boat rides thank the heavens. If you are indeed familiar with the Dishonored 1, you most likely have a lot of memories riding with Samuel. Not here. No such tomfoolery will be allowed. We're skipping straight through. Picking up 3rd rune here at the mouth of this big chungus whale leaves us only to collect 1 more at the next level. Devs do really want you to go around and do all sorts of bollocks, but we can abuse that movement speed I mentioned that we can acquire with Far Reach just to skip all the way to the end in a very smooth manner. Heading into Mission 3, we are going to be introduced to a new major glitch, aforementioned clipping. It is performed simply by flicking your aim down after releasing your Far Reach ability. Games like, hey, you have the momentum, here, just go straight through. Speaking of momentum, you might have seen in the previous mission, we did something that's generally called bunny hopping. It is simply doing jump inputs as you land to preserve your momentum from the Far Reach glitch. Extremely useful, and we'll be using them a bunch through the run. The objective in this mission is to rummage through Dr. Hypatia's office for a key and open a specific door, so we hit a trigger that allows us to actually end the mission. We need to inquire the whereabouts of one Anton Sokolov, and turns out one of the fastest ways to do this is to throw a bottle of whatever cursed liquid is contained in this right into the buttocks of Hypatia. We call this lovingly the booty bounce. We're almost done with the mission. We just need to signal Megan to come here and pick us up by blowing up this guard tower light that conveniently has its battery located under the thinnest metal known to mankind. Megan, being an absolute champ, picks us up, and after some quick skipping of the dialogue, and again, I really mean it, thank you so much Arcane for that, we're heading into the mission 4, Clockwork Manor. Our objective is to eliminate this evil mastermind, Jindosh, that has gone crazy and lives in this some sort of a frankly fucked up contraption. We also want to find our buddy from the previous game, Anton Sokolov, who we now know is being held at this magical Disney mansion. In order to get there, we'll once again consult our dear friend for a ride, and she's more than happy to oblige. I just want to say that if somebody is actually interested in learning this run, we've always had a really active Discord with a bunch of helpful people, and there is actually an Emily tutorial on my channel as well, so... First part of this mission is on a timer. We want to simply reach the roof of this building as fast as we can, as that triggers a cart with a couple guards to come and greet us. We'll Sparta kick them right out of it, after picking up some refreshing mana. I guess this is as good as time as any to mention that the mana route for Emily is quite forgiving, which is really good, as getting good with her ability is equivalent to being able to throw darts while drunk. After dispatching these two morons to Moon, I can explain another glitch that has been used throughout the run already, but it's really visible in this next section. Holding block allows you not to only ignore falling damage animations, but also animations from other sources of damage, like these railings. This would normally stun you and leave you, pardon the pun, dead on your tracks. Inside the fancy, magical Disney hotel, we'll find all sorts of levers and other shenanigans we could mess about with, but obviously we have a predetermined route through all this madness. This shot through these moving platforms to disable this wall of light in front of us, although tricky, is quite mandatory, as otherwise we cannot proceed through this level in a timely manner. Heading into the center of this building, we'll find the chap of the hour himself. We don't have time to converse pleasantries, however, and promptly shoot him in the dome and continue on our merry way to rescue Sokolov. This clip right here saves a nice bunch of time, although it does still scare me, as this hunk of metal is about to bite off my buttocks. We'll sleep dog the old man to once again skip some dialogue and head off from this maze. As we're carrying Sokolov, we don't want to run that much. We want to use Far Reach as much as possible, as running normally is extremely slow when carrying a man of his IQ. It could just be the body weight though. Trying to not get dazed too much by these guards that have extremely random movement, and hoping that you don't just accidentally drop the precious cargo, as you feel like you're playing Death Stranding all over again, will finally make our sweet escape. Sokolov isn't really the chatty type. It could also be the fact we literally shot him with a sleep dart, but that just means we don't have to worry about dialogue, as we bring Sokolov to the safety of the skiff and head back to the big old boat. When returning to the main station, we have some newly introduced enemies, witches, that might be a problem if you don't quickly fuck off from the premises. Luckily, far reach comes in handy once again. Unfortunately, these witches, next mission, oh boy, are we gonna see a bunch of them. Before that is relevant, let me tell you about the sponsor of this video, unskippable cutscenes and forced exposition. Are you tired of playing a video game? Are you going out of your mind searching for cutscenes that can completely remove you from the act of playing the video game and instead watching as the game explains to you stuff you have absolutely no interest in? Well, you're in luck, because welcome to Mission 5 Intro. All the dramatic speech being said though, we do skip a nice 14-second portion of this exposition scene by climbing up a vine and hitting a trigger you're supposed to hit later on. It's very nice. Everything else, we suffer through though. I can at least use this time to set up the scene for the next intermission trick though. We are going to be picking up a bottle, carrying it with us, throwing it at an empty chair and interacting with Megan. Interacting with Megan causes us to teleport onto the chair, taking that bottle once again to a loving dome and continuing on our merry way, skipping a few seconds of a otherwise normally skippable cutscene. After this, we need to be sure not to go too deep into the stairwell and climb up as soon as we can instead. This skips another 4 seconds worth of waiting in a black screen before talking to Megan. Because we somehow skip a trigger that does that. Why is it there? Who knows? I don't know. I just somehow play these video games sometimes. We are generally still pretty grateful that this is basically half of the cutscenes we have to endure in this entire game. Everything else we've managed to skip, which is pretty cool. So just a quick recap. Get bottle, throw bottle, skip cutscene, skip trigger, enjoy rest of game. Okay? Good. I'll let the actual sequence play out in silence. It's actually pretty cool. Depending on who you ask, that's either one of the coolest or one of the worst sequences in the entire game. Now that we're actually finally heading into the main mission, we can talk a bit about Wall of Lights. Wall of Lights can be dealt with in a few ways. You can either destroy the whale oil tank that's connected to them, or you can rewire them, which causes them to kill enemies instead of you. In this mission, we choose to rewire the first Wall of Light, and sort of ignore the second one as we won't be coming back the same route. Rewiring walls of lights is risky, as if they shoot or throw anything, even remotely close to you, the wall will actually also kill you, so that's certainly something to look out for. Brianna isn't really worth the time of day, so we opt to snipe her like we sniped some whale oil tanks in the past. Pew pew through the window. And following this we have another clip, taking us to the basement where we have an objective, audiogram thingy we have to interact with in order to escape this mission. Grabbing a bit of mana to go, we're headed to my personal favourite leap in the entire game, and I'll just let it speak for itself. This previous leap shows you that if we do have a pathway, we can make a lot of distance in a very short amount of time. Of course, we couldn't have used the same route because the wall of light was in the way, but that wasn't a problem anymore coming back, was it? Now heading to Mission 6, Dust District. I know you've all grown extremely fond of Megan, and don't worry, she's not going anywhere, but Sokolov, our dear scientist, will take his old bones and pilot the skiff into the dusty wastelands of, well, Dust District? This upcoming mission, even though extremely short, has a logic puzzle that a lot of newcomers have some trouble with. It always has the names and items required in the same-ish locations, varying just a bit, so you'll have to spend some time learning the pattern in order to do it quickly. The normal way to do this mission is to acquire a piece of paper with the answers written on it, although a bunch of players have successfully done it without any clues. It is indeed a working logic puzzle, although yours truly... yeah, there's no way, dude, like, come on, like, if you know me at all, no way. Just like real life, you have to shove some tourists away in order to glance at the art itself. It's like that place where they hold Mona Lisa, or whatever. There's a total of 5 pairs. Reading 2, and then 2 later, and 1 + 1 quick maths is the last one, is my favorite way of doing it. as my brain simply cannot hold more information at any given time. Thanks a lot, brain. And now we're headed into what I've heard the favorite section of a lot of people. Mission 7. Stilton Manor, Timepiece Maze, Outsiders Cutscene Hell, whatever you like to call it. Dear child has many a nickname. The basic premise of this mission is that you don't have your powers, but if you remember that agility power we use the runes on very early on in the game, we do keep that, so we can still double jump. This mission starts with a mandatory cutscene, and when we're heading there, the fastest thing to do is to kill Stilton in order to summon Outsider, and for him to bless us with his presence. In order to completely dodge his bullshit, we generally read jokes during this time, and I am one for traditions. I shall find the most glorious puns for this sacred day. Did you hear the rumor about butter? Well, I'm not going to spread it. Oh dear lord. Why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself? It was too tired. What time did the man go to the dentist? 2:30. 2:30. Oh, I can't. I'm not native. What do you call cheese that isn't yours? Nacho cheese. Nacho cheese. How does a penguin build its house? It glues it together. Penguins don't... whatever. What's brown and sticky? A stick. I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me. Okay, one last one. Zetz's speedruns. Okay, so now we are acquiring the timepiece. The timepiece allows us to switch between two versions of the same level. For the purposes of this run, that doesn't entail anything complicated, as our path is rather straightforward, but the level would have some puzzles, etc. that require a bit more thought otherwise. We're heading to Aramis Stilton. Yes, the same Aramis Stilton we killed at the start of the level, but in the past instead. I told you it's weird. And we're giving him the Sokolov treatment. We're shooting him with a sleeping dart. This changes parts of the level, so we can progress without requiring a code for the next door. It's locked with some planks instead, and we can destroy those easily. This upcoming section is timed, allowing us to go about the manor and do some shenanigans. We're opening a couple doors for a possible escape route and killing some civilians so that they disperse and don't block our path as we're leaving the mission. In all collectibles category, we can use this time to collect some required items, but sadly for any percent there isn't any mana potions lying around or anything else that would be useful. We're left with just a bit of waiting time, unfortunately. Luckily, we don't have to wait too long, and we can prepare for our epic escape. It's actually a pretty nice leap, and it leads right into one of our biggest skips in the entire game. Mission 7 Outsider Cutscene Skip. Normally after this loading screen, you would interact with the door in front of us, and that would trigger a sequence that takes about a minute and 45 seconds or so. This cutscene skip actually consists of two different skips completely. First, we skip interacting with a door that would pull you into the first area of the cutscene, and then secondly, we clip vertically, skipping right out of the outsider area and interacting with the exit portal straight away. Just as you thought we had done abusing this poor mission, you'll find out that in order to go back to Sokolov at the same spot where he dropped us at the start of Mission 6, we have a much more time-efficient route to get there. That once again abuses some of the out-of-bounds terrain that's available via a simple clip. Sokolov, being surprised how the fuck we actually made it back alive, agrees to take us back, and we're entering the last two missions of the entire game. And also with it, the biggest RNG factor of this entire category. Mission 8, Duke. Here at the intermission, we have another cool little cutscene skip. Once again, we are preparing our poor forehead to take some punishment. We'll go upstairs, grab a bottle, throw it up, and talk to Megan. Instead of talking to Megan for aeons, we take some damage and head our merry way. The second part of this mission has a big RNG factor. We are looking for a person, Duke Luca Abel, and he has a body double. Both of these characters are loaded in somewhere, in 5 predetermined spots. One of them is always in one of these 5 spots, so we head there, and it's a coin flip if it's the right one or not. If it's the right one, we can just head to the mission exit. If it's the wrong one, we need to hunt the real one down first, which obviously is a big time loss. The first part of Mission 8 has a wall of light. This specific route doesn't pick up enough rewires in order to rewire it, but we have a faster way to go around it. It's risky, but it looks amazing. We're just simply going to climb it up. The hitbox is kind of interesting, but I think you can see that it doesn't actually hit us. This is where the dread kicks in. Is the run going to die or not? Do we have the RNGs with us? I'll spoil it for this video. We do. How many times did I have to record to get it? 6. 6 bloody times. There's a really cool clip here to head into Duke's quarters. We can determine if it's the right or the wrong Duke by seeing what we loot. Do we loot his key from him? And seeing the prompt on the top right corner. Obviously, because we are playing Emily, we don't need to use keys. We simply clip into the safe, activate a trigger near the door, and interact with the quest objective. This mission still has one more ace up its sleeve, another dialogue skip. So very much like other dialogue skips, you can use external damage to cancel an ongoing discussion. Megan here at the end of this mission has 2 long lines of dialogue. We can cancel the first one, saving about 14 seconds by carefully placing a whale oil tank, shooting it, and interacting with Megan right before it explodes. The duration of this boat ride is scripted, so it always takes the same amount of time, giving us a lot of time to get into position. There's no audio or visual cues for when you can interact with Megan, so the timing comes with practice, or you can take it safe and wait for her to talk first. Loading into the last mission. Here at the intermission, we actually don't have to talk to any NPC at all. We can take this glass and head to the skiff as we're operating it solo this time. A really cool skip was found here where you can cancel your own dialogue by throwing a glass while leaning, interacting with the boat and then taking damage. Very much like the second damage cancel from the intro. This mission starts with a pretty intense far reach leap. If done well, you can reach all the way to the ending door that you need to go in with just 2 far reaches. There's a lot of stuff on the ground to dodge, but it's pretty amazing. While the Japanese girl sings the creepy song on the intercom, I should mention the language has nothing to do with dialogue speed in this game. It's all the same, pure preference. I'm just super tired of English. We're heading into the last section of the game. This all involves a climb, a pretty precise far reach, a skip involving 2 pretty precise far reaches in order to completely ignore the indoors area, a hard cutscene damage cancel, and a precise shot to end the entire game. So a lot can and will go wrong very often here. This climb is pretty unforgiving. We are standing on small ledges, and if you move your character even a bit, you will fall down, lose a bunch of time, or die. We skip this animation by taking damage from a full-size double jump done from this tower. Again, that comes a bit delayed, and that allows us to skip this. The very last meaningful action of the game is to kill Delilah with an incendiary dart. The way we do it involves shooting it between 2 branches, and it's pretty scary. Then we just head off into the sunset, touch the Papa statue, and well, credits would roll, but they're glitched because we entered the final area in a very non-intended way. But that does it for me. Hopefully you did enjoy your time, especially if you did watch all the way through. You might want to reconsider if you didn't. Either way, I want to thank anyone who's been involved with this channel, me, or even DH2 runs in the past 4 years. It's been a blast, and hopefully Deathloop doesn't suck too much, so we can continue with the same pace. Like I said earlier, this wasn't supposed to be like the magnum opus or anything of this game. I just simply wanted to provide my perspective, and hopefully somebody learned something. That's all I want. If you want to learn this run, I'll leave my tutorial down below. I'll leave the speedrun.com link down below. I'll leave the content creators I mentioned earlier below. And if you have any questions, obviously, always ask me. I'm going to get back to you. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful new year, because, well, I just kind of came up with this idea 2 days ago, and here we are. It's New Year's today, and I hope I didn't pick up too many explosions with my mic. Bye-bye.